road to Reno is always a long one, and after coming off last year, we were fairly successful again with our engine program. It took me a while to find the course again this year. I think I started overthinking it. It took me until Friday until I really found the course again. We had a spray bar issue where the pump was malfunctioning, so that caught my attention a couple times, but we could solve it in the cockpit. In preparation for Sunday's race, we actually fixed the problem. We didn't end up getting to find out if it was going to work or not. Everybody, I'd assume, is saving it for Sunday, and I have heard different indications of several of our competitors testing their equipment as well by using full power, or what they'd consider to be full power. Going into the race, we still felt like we had the edge on everybody. Once again, we flew over 500-mile-an-hour lap, and no one's been able to do that in the past except for Dago Red. I feel like we're kind of setting the bar for the rest of the pack. You know, the speed's really not based on a power setting. Flying the course makes a big difference out there. I think a second on the clock is 14 miles an hour. So some of our fastest laps last year and this year included weren't at full power. They were at a reliable power setting for the engine. And obviously having clean air and being in front of the pack, flying your own line makes a big difference.
Actually, I never stop talking to Steve when he's on the course. I talk to him the whole way around every lap. Advise him about traffic, remind him about things that he needs to do in the cockpit. We're always looking at the airplane to make sure there's no oil coming out of it, no coolant, everything's clean. And then really it's just a kind of a NASCAR type conversation. I just never stop talking to him and telling him what to do and telling him who he's coming up on and making sure that he's clear of the other airplanes. So I'm kind of the eyes outside of the airplane for him. Although he doesn't say a lot, I'm mostly just relaying information to him. Things that I'm seeing going on the course. I've been there, this is my 24th time. I can really make a reliable calculation on what's going to happen in front of him or what's happening behind him. And then I also call out the power settings for him based on what's happening behind him. The conversation kind of never stops when we're in the sky. The year before this passed, after the event, we received some photographs via email of the airplane with some wrinkles across the top of the left-hand wing panel. Although there's no signs of distress with the airplane sitting here on the ground, the photographs were awakening enough to us that we decided to park the airplane. Unfortunately, the first year they took the airplane to Reno, they had an incident with it where it went off the runway, went off the end of 1-4, and gear collapsed, went down and broke the left wing panel. It was repaired by another shop here on the airport, and we believe that that's what's causing the flexing of the wings. The repair itself that was done on it is actually stronger than the spar it's hooked to, which has actually moved the load elsewhere in the wing, which is causing the problem. In the eye of safety, we decided to park the airplane for this past event, and we're going to take the wing out from underneath it this winter and respar the left wing panel.
Our strategy is pretty much the same as our strategy last year. We don't necessarily want to qualify in the pole. Like I said, it's a test of the engine. It's the first big test we put on the engine at Reno because we have the availability of the hot race fuel. So we slowly build up the power settings throughout the week up to qualifying. Try and qualify with a good time. The goal is to get in the top 5 airplanes so we can set out Thursday, thus saving the fuse on the engine. And then as far as Friday was concerned, we ran a power setting initially that we thought we would get passed by the competitors because we figured they'd want to run out on the pole. As it turned out, it didn't happen. Halfway through the race is when we had that spray bar issue I referred to earlier, so we pulled the power quite a bit back to save the engine, allow it to cool better. We really saved the fuse quite a bit on the engine this year. It's the same plan for Saturday. We had an inkling that there might be some weather coming up the next day, so we wanted to try and keep the pole. Maybe not necessarily use everything we had if somebody was challenging us, but definitely make a strong attempt at it. And as it worked out for us, we were able to pull back on the power quite a bit right from the get-go. Once again, in order to save it for Sunday in case we needed it, and unfortunately, as it turned out, we didn't need to use it on Sunday.
My personal theory is that we go up there to win races. I wanted the pole position for Friday's race, and I wanted the pole for Saturday, and I want the pole for Sunday, and then I want to win. So fortunately, this time around, it paid off for us. Part of that was luck. Part of that is just being prepared. Again and again and again, winning the event happens back at the shop, not on the ramp at Reno. And preparation is everything. Having your airplane squared away and a good crew is everything. And it's paying off for us year after year now. Basically, our strategy is to come down and take a very strong start and then just start backing it down. Every time he comes by, I'll call him for another power reduction. Surprisingly, this year, we thought the competition would be a little bit stiffer than it was. So both Friday and Saturday, we came back to power settings that we were kind of surprised at. So we figured everyone was just kind of holding everything back for Sunday. Well, I was aware that they called off the Gold T6 race, and I was kind of surprised. It just didn't seem that bad. It was, windy, but not terrible windy in the pits. Some of our T6 racer friends came down and said they had called the race. Standing in the pits, it didn't seem too bad. When we got down in front of the grandstands, at that time I believe it was gusting to 31 or 34. The light poles were bending. One of the biggest concerns was there's only one runway in use. And if you had a Mate 8 airplane that plugged up that runway, it was going to compound the problem for anybody else that was still up, which has happened a lot of times. Everyone was kind of meandering around and kind of looking at the ground, and nobody wanted to be the first one to raise their hand and say, hey, I really don't want to fly today. Bill Harrison and Rah made the decision that it just wasn't safe for us to race. So it's just the hand that got dealt. We all wanted to race, but it just came down to safety, and it just wasn't safe. I feel bad, especially for Bob Button. He's a good friend of ours and a hell of a competitor. Of course, they went out on Saturday with engine trouble, which put them way down in the pack when he should have been sitting next to us in second place. The race motor's still in the airplane sitting behind us. It has a 1-hour flight on it home. We don't plan on doing any more flying with it. We'll take the engine out, we'll preserve it for the winter. In the spring, we'll take the pan off, take a look at all the bearings. We'll probably take the heads and banks off, re-ring it, take a look at everything on the upper end, and if we're happy with it, we'll run it again.
This year was the first year we've had some cockpit footage, so I'll be able to go back through that and kind of replay things that I thought I did well or not so well, try and improve upon those for next year. And then we got a lot of exciting things coming up in the next year, so we'll be working on the airplane quite a bit, and hopefully you guys will hear about it in the future.
Well, somebody's going to pull an all-nighter today. Let's see who it's going to be. Voodoo? Okay, so everybody's saying race number 5, Voodoo. Bob and crew, get out the lights. You guys are working tonight. Oh my goodness.
And the white flag is obviously up for Stephen Henry as he has completed lap number 5, and we're taking our split now.